you've just graduated.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How is job hunting? Like, what skills do you think people need now when they're looking for a job?
Well, I think the companies are looking for different types of skills. And of course, the obvious thing is they're looking for someone who has done great in university or in their education. So they're looking for a person with a good average who has depends on the nature of the job as well.
Yeah.
They have to depending on what type of job they're doing, it's engineering or human resource. They have to have some specific skills for that, like in case of nowadays, especially software, computer software. So no matter what you have studied in university, you have to be on some level a computer engineer as well.
Okay.
So you have to be comfortable, for example, with some general software like Microsoft Office.
Yeah.
So these are some sort of stuff they're looking for in everyone. And then I think mostly they're looking for someone who has the confidence to start dealing with something new, like arguing, like wrestling with something new, because what you study in university is more or less completely different from what you are going to do in the job.
Yeah.
They ask you different things to do, different tasks. So you have to have the self-confidence and the will to tackle those challenges.
Yeah.
And to be able to engage with them and keep working on them until you can solve it.
So kind of determination, flexibility, adaptability.
Exactly.
Definitely. I think working in a team as well is an important skill.
Yeah, definitely. Because when you work in a company, hardly ever you work by yourself. You usually work with colleagues, you're in a team, in a department, and you have to be able to be able to communicate with people in your team, and it's inevitable sometimes you have problems with someone or someone has problems with you, but you cannot quit the job just because of that. You have to be able to deal with that problem separately.
Yeah.
So you don't have to let it mix with the job.
Definitely. I think they're all skills that are important to learn when you're first looking for a job.
Exactly.
Organization as well, I think.
Yes. Because before you start working, when you're a student, you're more flexible. You control your own timetable. You control your life. If you don't feel like it today, you don't go to the class. I mean, nobody's gonna punish you. But when you start working, you have to wake up at a certain time, no matter how you feel, no matter what is going on in your life. So you have to be able to organize your life. You have to be able to do something you don't feel like doing right now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest adjustments when you graduate and start looking for work. I think it's important as well to have some kind of experience when you're looking for a job as well. So maybe you've done an internship or some voluntary work. Do you agree? Yes,
absolutely. Because, well, it depends. When you don't have experience, when you're a recent graduate, you have to start with an entry-level job. So with an entry-level job, they usually don't expect you to have experience. If you have experience, it's much better. But if you're applying for an internship, usually they hire you because of your knowledge, not because of your experience. They're buying the knowledge and the will to learn and grow in that job. But if you're applying for another type of position, not an entry level, absolutely, it is one of their requirements that you have to have a certain amount of experience. And these days, the companies really appreciate someone with an international experience. So, for example, if you have done an Erasmus program for one semester or a year outside your country or your like home university, that is very, very appreciated. Or if you have worked in another country with an international company, if you can speak different languages, that is really appreciated for the companies.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what do you think the differences are between the ambitions of young people nowadays and the ambitions of young people in the previous generations when they were looking for a job?
I think the ambitions are similar, but I think it's probably more difficult now. I think companies demand a lot.
Yes.
Don't give as much in return. There's maybe not the stability that there used to be. And I think, you know, I'm old. So, for example, when I went to university, I was the generation where it began to become expected that you have to have a degree.
Yes.
But when I went to university, it didn't matter what the degree was, you just had to have a degree.
Yes.
So, for example, I chose the very useful degree of religion and philosophy because why not?
Yes.
Then, you know, I graduated the year of the global financial crisis, and I think there was a big change around then. I think now, if you do a degree, it has to be for a purpose. People don't study much anymore, things like religion, history. And I have had a lot of students who will say, you know, I'm interested in history, but I need to get a job. So everybody's doing degrees in engineering, law, this kind of things that will give you a profession. Do you find when you were choosing your degree, did that influence your decision, the job you'll have after?
Yes, absolutely. Well, my degree was in something which is like in really high demand. So I think for me that was not the problem. But I totally agree with you. I think the companies are way more focused these days. So when they open a position with certain requirements, they are strictly looking for someone who can satisfy those requirements.
Yeah.
So you have to have a degree in that field, but you have to also have the skills that they require for that specific position. So I think, yes, I agree with you. It is way more competitive when I compare the job market now with the generations before. So like with the time of my father or my older sister. So at that time there were more jobs and the companies were more flexible. They were more welcoming. So you could start a job even though you were not trained specifically for that job, but then you could grow in the job and you could be an expert by experience, not by education. So yeah. What do you think about the set of skills, soft skills and hard skills that young people need these days in order to have a good chance in finding a job?
I think, in my opinion, especially now, everything's more global, international. Language is becoming a big thing, and English is essential, I think. And also flexibility, I think.
And like moving to another country or...
Yeah, travel, the willingness to move, I think.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like no matter where you work or what type of job you're doing, if you don't know English, that will really like make your chances like less to find a job. And the companies really prefer to have someone who can speak English, even though maybe their duties does not like require them to speak English. They're just talking in their own language. But I think they have to know like how to work with the computer these days. I think that's very basic. We are used to it now.
Yeah, hopefully by now everyone knows how to use a computer.